Hello, Jule. Good morning.
Good morning, Siley.
I'm so glad we are doing this. We decided to do these conversations because, over the years, I've been having these conversations with you, and it has helped me so tremendously. And I realized that I want to share it with everyone, and I think it's the right time to share it.
Honey, I think you're right. I hear from so many people. And yesterday it was quite interesting because I went in to have my car serviced for winter. Just to go in there and check things out. And I walk in, and there's individuals. There's one gentleman having a heart attack while I was in there. And then there were other individuals filled with anger, ire. And the beautiful lady behind the counter said to me, Jewel, she says, there's so much anger. How can you come in here with so much love? Because I walked in and I'm hugging. You know what? I see them aligned with the truth of all that we are. I see everyone that. I see the grand potential. However, we have to do our work so that we see that and that
Yeah.
we are that.
Yeah. And you've been inspiring me to do that work, and I see you as the demonstrator of how love is the answer to everything. And I want everyone to know that we still have the answer. The love is still
We have,
possible for
and
us.
love is the answer.
Yeah.
How do we get there? That's the point. Because I had a discussion with a gentleman the other day, and he said, you know what? I work and I work and I work and I meditate and I do all these things. Well, techniques don't do it, Siley. What does it is to love self. And the only way that I was able to get to a place of loving self was when I stripped away all of that attachment and all of those egos that held me in bondage. That's what I call
Yeah.
repair the breaks.
Yeah. So we will do a very detailed session on repair of the brakes sometime.
I'm
But
sure.
today I wanted to talk to you about what everybody is talking about in the world, which is about the war that is going on currently in Israel and Gaza. And the wars, it's not just started today, it was happening last year also with Russia and Ukraine. And it
And how
seems
many
like wars are
centuries
increasing.
and centuries and
True.
centuries from the beginning of time? And why is that, Siley?
That's what I wanted to ask you. Like, how have we come on the journey of evolution? How are we still creating so much war?
Well,
Why is
it's tremendous resistance in consciousness. People are aligned with a consciousness of suffering. They're aligned with a consciousness of being a victim. And then they try to accomplish to fix things from the outside in so that they can manipulate their outer world so they don't become victimized. And then it becomes a constant expression over and over and over again.
yeah,
And then there's hate because it's all built on separation. In our truth, there is no separation. We are aligned one with the whole of God, one with the whole of the Creator. And that's truly what we're here to accomplish. And if we don't accomplish that, then we live in the midst of resistance. I know when I used to practice law, I would feel victimized often.
yeah,
Why? Because it was in my consciousness. So if we're victimized, then what happens is we begin to feel the conflicts. We don't want to feel conflicts. So what do? We
we
start
manipulate.
manipulating.
Yeah.
Exactly. We manipulate. We try to manipulate. That's what a war is. It's conflict.
So, countries have their defense system, and if somebody attacks, then they start doing their defense attack. So, all of that is part of the manipulation that you're talking
Yes, it
about,
is. Yes, it is. And see, people have said to me, how do we fix it? We
right?
don't
Yeah.
fix that. We fix this. One by one, we make a difference. I mean, I could sit here and say, oh, we could do this, we could do that. It's all bullshit. Excuse
Yeah.
my language, but don't excuse my language, because it's bullshit. We cannot fix it from the outside in. Oh, we can put a band aid on it. We can do something like bomb or bring all of these people in like cattle. We can bomb this place or bomb this place. We can create a
Yeah.
war and frighten people. But you know what? It just picks up again. Because the
True.
only way we can realize the truth fully and completely is one by one making a difference with us. There's a,
So yeah,
okay,
go. Sorry. Go ahead.
there's something in the Bible that is very beautiful. The Bible says, many are called, but few respond. I think it's very similar to that. Well, anyway, few respond because they're so stuck in resistance. I know I was. I
Hmm.
was, Siley. You know what? My ego. I kept opening law offices, one by one, until I realized, wait a minute, the joy is in me, but I'm not feeling this. It didn't matter what I was doing externally.
So you
I was still
so you're
feeling.
saying we all have to look within us and fix ourselves, and that is the only job we all need to do.
And then what happens? If I fix me, you fix you. We repair those breaks. We're no longer separate. And we can feel the pure love. What happens to the collective consciousness?
I think they will be inspired probably or affected because of the way we are behaving.
Because what happens is the shift in us immediately will cause a shift in the collective consciousness. It doesn't happen overnight. But you know
Yeah.
what? Our work doesn't happen overnight. It's a lot of work to realize and repair those breaks. I identified every single thing that held me. Everything.
So yeah, I understand. So this work is, in fact, it's kind of constant. It goes on and on for probably years. So there is no way to fix a situation immediately. Like how people think, okay, I'm going to do this so that I stop the war, but actually we can't stop anything like that, right?
Well, we can't do we oh, you know what? We could stop it by bombing. And then what?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
fixed.
more hatred, more
It's another
violence, some other
band-aid,
country. Yeah.
right? I
Because
mean,
what's
there are lots
happening
of
right now in
band-aids. You get one political party that says this and another political party that
yeah.
says this. One world leader says this, one world leader says this. But you know what? It never, ever stands to be a complete repair. It doesn't fix the situation. One by one, we make a difference. And
And you know,
that's the way
Jule,
to do
I'm
this.
observing right now is that in the world, this thing that you're talking about, political parties or countries taking sides of the people in war, and it just feels like people are getting divided more and more and more.
Exactly.
And you know, the lines between right, wrong, good, bad is all blurring because you're realizing that actually,
That's
whose side are you going to take?
exactly, sweetheart. You know what? You've got it. Because that's the duality. And as long as we're resisting our truth, there's always duality. The good versus the evil. Well, if you're in the midst of good versus the evil, all you're saying is that I'm being victimized by a force. I do not
Hmm.
have my power, but rather I'm victimized by a force that is taking power over me. I've given it. The only way we can overcome that is to repair the break and be able to, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, at another point in time, but it even comes into existence right now as we're speaking of this, because once by one, as long as there's duality, we're creating division. I know in the United States, the division is inconceivable. It's so huge. But you know what? The perfection is that it's happening. Before, you know what? When people just sit there and say, okay, I'll agree with you. I agree with everything you're saying. And it's just another bunch of bullshit. Here I
True.
am again, bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, but that's what happens. That's what happens. And until we really come to terms and admit that this is something that affects me, and I need
Yeah.
to look at this very clearly, and I need to identify what is causing my separation. What is, why am I resisting the pure joy and love that we're here to
Hmm.
achieve? Hey, we've been told the The kingdom of heaven is in us. The kingdom's
Yeah.
in us. And you know what?
Yeah.
I know that, but
Mm.
because I've done my work,
Yeah.
it feels so
And
amazing.
I think this war and this whole situation, as you said, it's bringing up the polarity and duality between
Yes,
inside of us
yes,
amongst masses, like a lot of people. And I feel it's an opportunity for everyone to start then looking at that and see, oh my God, I'm getting affected because of this. So
that's
the
right.
war is actually victimizing everyone.
That's
And
exactly right. And that's why we create it, because silently we create every single thing that occurs.
yeah,
Consciousness creates. So, am I responsible for creating the war? Of course, because that's part of my consciousness. It's part of your consciousness. Now, for my consciousness, I love being able to create a situation so that individuals can identify and I can unconditionally love them to identify what they're holding on to so that they
mm,
can transform the energy. They transform from hate to be able to express pure love. Does it happen overnight? It didn't for me. It took me time, and I had to keep at it.
so tell me something when you said that we are creating this war, how are we really? Do you mean to say all of us have created this
Yes.
war?
Well, it's our consciousness. Now, from my perspective, I see the grandness in the experience. I don't
Mm,
look at situations on the basis of the conflict itself. I see it as an experience that helps individuals, just what we're talking about,
right.
identify what it is that's holding them in bondage. Why are they creating with such anger? Why is there separation? When
Mm,
we're separated from the one, being one with the whole of God, what happens is we create those situations. And so
yeah.
we are part of the collective mind that creates the war. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Everything. I think everything that happens in our world is our creation, collective
Exactly.
creation. And then what happens in
Consciousness
our personal
creates.
world is very much our creation.
Yes. Consciousness creates. And that's
Wow.
exactly what happens. And, when you look at it from the perspective of the infallible way is every single thing that comes into our world, if we're affected by it, it's there so that we can identify it, we can transform it. Do we have the
Mm,
capacity in our consciousness to create? Yes. Yes, so much. But that's why we're here. So we can either stay in the midst of suffering, we can stay in the midst of creating wars every day of our world, or we can rise to limitlessness or
go beyond,
boundlessness. Yes.
right.
And then we're
I mean,
beyond the body and the mind. And we'll talk about that someday, I'm sure, very soon.
yeah, I think this is very important. How do we actually transform that is the most crucial part, which we'll
Yes.
do in some other session. But I think just knowing that this possibility exists of going beyond conflict, of going beyond feeling
Yes.
victimized itself is so
Yes.
beautiful.
That's the beautiful part of it. You know what? That's why all these experiences are present. You
Yeah.
hear, why does God allow this? Hey, it's not God that's allowing it. God has given you the infallible way so that you can identify whatever it is. It's that
Right.
same saying that I began with. Many are called, but few respond because people are so damn complacent at staying in the midst of duality, in the midst of their resistance.
And in the midst of blaming others rather than
Yeah,
taking
always.
responsibility.
Yep, that's the best one, right? I'm the
Yeah.
victim. Well, you know what? You're the victim because that's where you stay. But you have the capacity to rise above it. One by one, we make a difference, right?
Yeah. I think the first step to just look at this situation is realize that we have created this and
Yes,
take that responsibility to start with, and rather than just saying that people are good or bad and you're just sitting in your home
that's
blaming
right.
other people.
Right.
So I think that's very crucial. Wow. I think that's going to be an eye opener for a lot of people.
Well, you
So,
know what? It was with me, but it feels so incredible because, I know every experience and I unconditionally love every single person that's going through their experience because they're creating it so they can identify it. Once we identify it with the commitment to realize our truth, look at what we have. The
yeah, I see your
limitlessness.
life. I see your life just flowing in love and
Yep.
beauty and abundance. And
Yep.
yeah,
Fullness
that's
and
how I know it.
abundance. I had a gentleman say, "Well, how is it that you can walk through an experience? What the heck does that mean?" But the
Yeah.
walking through the experience, and we'll talk about that with the repair of the brakes, is a very vital part of what we do. Because, as humans, we always want to take shortcuts, like take a pill
Mm,
or do a medication or develop a
mm,
technique. Well,
yeah.
walking through it means that we're going to identify every single thing that's holding us so that we can strip away that ego that holds us.
Mm. We'll talk about that surely in
Yes.
detail.
Vital. I mean,
Thank
it's
you so
vital.
much.
Hey,
I think this,
I was laying on the floor for
I
like
know,
3 years.
I know. It's hard work. It needs commitment and it needs
But it was
a
so
constant work. Yeah.
constant. But you know what? It's the grandest work ever. I mean, I went to law school. I was a CPA. I did all this nonsense stuff. Not that I would change a bit of it, Siley. But boy, I'll tell you, the grand work was when I began this work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, I want to share your story as well. We'll do it in another session shortly
Yeah,
because,
definitely.
yeah, what it takes to walk through all this and realize your truth is also very important. So, anyways, thank you so much for sharing this and having these conversations with me.
And it's
They're
always,
always enlightening.
sweetheart, it's always beautiful to see you.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you. See you another
Bye.
day. Bye.